Hello, everybody, and welcome. Pardon the technical errors there. I am Glenn, Sportcat Jackson, for those of you that don't know me, and I am trying something a little bit different. First off, let me get some business out of the way. We are live on Yerg's Radio. You can go listen there at yergsradio.com. Thank you, Ross. We're also live on Rainbow Radio. You can go there and listen to us as well. We are live on YouTube, Twitch, a couple other places. But I encourage everybody to come here to the YouTube channel, the Paranormal Guys with a Z, Paranormal Guys with a Z, the Sportcat shows. And please like, follow, share, and subscribe. And I know every YouTuber says that hitting that thumbs up button, well, it does help spread us around. And it's a brand new show, so I could use some help. And please join in the chat. A little bit about myself. Well, most of you know, I'm a retired fire paramedic. And I decided, actually my wife decided for me that I needed something to do. So she said, well, why don't you do a podcast? So I started off with a paranormal show, which I still do. It's Wednesday nights at 9 p.m., runs from 9 to 11 live. The Paranormal Guys, which is obviously the main channel here. And we interview celebrities, authors, pretty much anybody that has a story, and anybody that's welcome. Everybody is welcome to come on the show. Just send me a message and we'll get you on. So we do that on Wednesday nights. I'm also a boss jock. That's a play on words. I'm a disc jockey on the Thin Line Rock stations every Tuesday and Thursday from noon to 1400. That's 2 o'clock Eastern time, noon till 2 o'clock Eastern time on the thinlinerockstation.com. You can go listen to me there. And of course, you can send requests to me and through the station as well if you want to hear some music. So I do that, trying to stay busy and have a life. It kind of isn't easy at the moment, but it is what it is. So I'm not a political show. I am not a trained news journalist, obviously, as a retired firefighter paramedic, but I do have some street experience, and I think giving a different view of current events and things going on. Hello, Denise. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the chat. I appreciate you being here. Is just something a little different. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to present everything in like a daily news brief. Like, let's say if I was the president, that people would come and prepare to me. So, and then I will give you a little bit of my views from the dark side of the street and the worldview. But please, this is satire, humor, entertainment purposes only, and for legal reasons. Don't take any of my advice serious because I'm, probably pretty dumb. But, all right. So we're going to try and do this every day at at 2 o'clock, 1400 Eastern. And if you notice, when I go to sharing the screen, there will be a clock down in the bottom corner. And I'm doing that so that anybody watching can realize the current date and time. One time on the left will be Eastern, and the other is known as Zulu, or Universal Time. So there will be that. And, that's about it. Unless, Denise, I guess you're my only viewer. Have any requests? We'll get into this. Let me get my screen prepared here. And as you can hear, I'm at home, and apparently somebody's at the front door. It never stops. All right, let me get all this off the screen here. Let me share my other screen, and we will jump right in. We're gonna start with the FEMA daily news briefing, which is presented daily. It's actually the same one that's presented to the president, except his has all that classified stuff they don't tell me. So, but so we'll start with it. Let's hide. There you go. And let's show this on the screen. So you can see this is the daily operations briefing. It was created Monday, which is today, January 13th at 8:30 a.m. And for those of you that are not aware of current events, we are having a severe wildfire problem. And that's one of the national current operations is the wildfires. The significantly in Southern California's ongoing incidents. And they are also monitoring snow in the Northern Plains and Great Lakes because, we'll get into there later. Hey, Chris, welcome. Please share. Everybody remember, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thumbs up button too. Let me turn that off. So current events, we're obviously talking about the wildfires and hazardous monitoring. They're keeping an eye on the snow. There are no new declaration activity. And we'll get into that here in just a second. The wildfires in Southern California are currently one of the big things. And we'll get into some numbers here in a little bit later and go into this in a little greater depth. But Southern California is having a drought. And with the drought and the Santa Ana winds, one little spark, and well, you get a fire. And so far, if I heard correctly, the fatality count was over 24 as of this morning. But I would expect that to go up. Something that people don't realize is this has swept through whole towns and neighborhoods, businesses, schools. And a team from FEMA, or the local fire department, LA County Fire, has to go in and search and make sure before they can send anybody in, the residents, that A, it's safe. You want to do that. And that there's no, and this sounds pretty gruesome, but that there's no bodies. Because obviously there were some people who didn't make it out, who didn't heed the warning, maybe didn't know about the warning and perished in their homes. So they don't want people coming in and finding their loved one still in their home. So that's something, it's a grim task, and it's one of the things that the FEMA workers have to do. And they deploy teams from across the country to come and do this search and rescue technique. And also, since this could be considered a crime, I believe one of them has been ruled arson, and they've arrested somebody. I'm not 100% sure, but if I understood the PIO with the Los Angeles fire, they did make an arrest in one preliminary reports is electrical. Apparently some electrical wires fell and caught on fire. And then the third, they're investigating all three and don't have a cause and effect as of yet. So there are mandatory evacuations in LA County, and there's a curfew. And one problem that they've had with people is violating the curfew. People are going in and either looting or not listening to the responders and saying, hey, it's not safe here, get out. And I think in 2 different jurisdictions, they've made over 20 arrests. Now, one thing they did point out is these weren't all necessarily looters or curfew violators. These are people who came in contact with the responders. And since it's in a mandatory zone, they have the constitutional right to stop, frisk, search, and seize. And, well, if they found drugs or weapons, then you're going to go to jail, especially for violating curfew. Yes, the looting has been terrible. That's one thing I've never understood. I can see it if you're getting out of your apartment and you're taking your things with you or a house. But for somebody to come in and take your stuff is just, it's horrible. I don't even understand the mentality that would go into that. Why are you worried about getting that PlayStation or that TV or whatever from somebody's home? You should be getting out. But that is why I was employed in fire rescue for so long, because there's stupid people. Stupid people do stupid things. So, all right. So here they're talking about the shelters they have in place. They have one shelter, the Westwood Recreation. Good Lord, can't talk. It's got 199, and the Ritchie Valley has 15. Pasadena Civic Auditorium has 479. My eyesight sucks. And the others you see there on the left is the population in the shelters. There are 8 shelters open. So they do also have some missing persons. So if you know of somebody, please report that to LA County Fire or PD that may be missing. Or if you know of a person that maybe was at a nursing home and got taken to a separate shelter or something, their loved one knows where they are, but they're showing up on the missing list, please notify the local government there. That would help them out a lot so that they're not searching for somebody. So they've declared a public health emergency for this. Of course, there's obviously an air quality problem, because I'm sure you've seen some of the pictures there. And The smoke banking down is just terrible. And what about the one house that wasn't affected? That's a good comment, and I haven't researched it yet, but I did see in a firefighting article that it had sprinklers on the exterior, and it had 2 concrete walls, and there was a buffer zone. And to understand there is no such thing as a fireproof wall. Concrete's about as close as you're going to get. But what you do when you're trying to build a fireproof wall is you put a space between the other wall and it. And depending on zoning or whatever, the purpose of that is this is fire retardant, we'll call it. Nothing's fireproof. And this here is fire retardant. So in between, if this is absorbing the heat, there's a buffer with air that can't necessarily get hot enough to catch this on fire. Now, remember, with this and the winds, if you've noticed any of the reporting or seen any of the images, there are literally embers, burning things coming down around you. So nothing is fireproof, but that house, from what I've heard, had on at least 3 sides, because I believe it faced the ocean. It was also hurricane proof. And I'm sure it was some millionaire person that built it, but it's pretty ingenious design. And I'm sure that building code's going to have to change and go to something like that in the future. But you have that buffer between the 2 walls. So there's an exterior wall all the way around it. And then there's the wall that is the actual walls to the home. They're both fire retardant because, like I said, nothing is technically fireproof. Everything will burn at a certain temperature. In addition to that, I understand they had sprinklers. Now, whether the sprinklers were also in the little fire buffer area that I was telling you, usually it's just air, but you can have a mist sprinkler to keep that cool. That is probably what saved that home. Yes, every home around it was burnt. I haven't got into it. And I know there's some conspiracy people out there saying that there's lasers from space or... No, unfortunately, I think one was an arson, one was an electrical wire that was down, and I don't know what the third was, but yeah, that is probably what saved that home, Denise. And I will look into that more, because that was something that I thought was pretty dang neat. So anything that you can donate, they're definitely needing bottled water. If you want to send bottled water, just make sure it's going to a correct place. There's a lot of scammers out there. So far, they're at full activation in the state, which Cal Fire, LA Fire. They're working 24-hour shifts, and they have called in. There's 2 Canadian air tankers that are doing water drops, and several of the rest were people that were flying drones over this. Okay, I have an opinion on this. Yes, it makes great highlight. It gets you your click on TikTok or whatever. But those drones are also interfering because they have to stop the planes and the helicopters from doing the drops. So one of the planes was actually struck and put out of service until it can be repaired by a drone. Canada has supplied 2. Another aircraft company apparently had some old jets laying around that they retrofitted, and they brought them in. And then, of course, we in the United States have our own, but there's a lot of operation. And one thing, everybody always wants to thank the firefighters. That's great. I appreciate that. There's also paramedics and other people on the ground. But 2 people that really don't get a recognition in an emergency like this are, one, the pilots, because you have to have a special license, because you have to actually have a seaplane license to get the water. And then they're flying below altitudes that the plane is built for, and they're flying at speeds the plane was not built to keep aloft. So they have to have special training. So to do that, because they're sometimes right above treetop level. And one thing that people don't consider is each gallon of water, obviously they drop, decreases the weight, and the plane's going to want to lift. So as they're dropping this water, the plane's going to want to lift, and they may be looking at a mountain. So yeah, they don't get enough. And the other persons that don't get enough recognition are the air traffic controllers. If we get a chance, I'm going to try and keep this to an hour. If we get a chance, I will show you some of the air traffic in there because they're trying to keep an airport open while they're doing this. So yeah. And everything is toxic at the moment right now because of the smoke and the conditions. And Chris, I agree with you. Those people that run those donation scams are just pure evil. I think there's a special place for them, but that's my opinion only. So far, this only lists 2 fires, but I believe there are 3, and one is 13% contained and one is 27% contained. And one thing we'll talk about here in a minute is it may be contained at the moment, but the Santa Ana winds are predicted to get worse, I think today through the weekend. So yeah. They're still at a great fire risk. There will still be at a great fire risk for tomorrow too, as well, because of the winds. So keep that in mind. This is going to go into a little bit of the national weather forecast, which we'll also go into. If you're in the South, you're going to get a little rain. If you're in the Northeast, you're going to get a little snow. Remember, they were watching that as a possible event. So there you go. Snowfall up in the Northeast. Looks like it's going to be all up in Boston, Vermont, where my son lives. So yeah. Some in the Rockies too. So there were some here in Atlanta. Luckily, it was over the weekend, so it didn't shut the city down. I was surprised. I was amazed. It didn't do bad. Long range outlook is, well, it's going to be cold, very cold. And in the next 10 days, the chances for precipitation. FEMA is currently operating at a heightened state in California and in North Carolina. Tennessee, West Virginia, Kentucky, Virginia, and South Carolina are still operating from the hurricanes that were there. Texas is operating because of fires. I'm not really sure what's going on out here in the Midwest. We'll have to look into that. And here in the South was just the snow. So they're pretty much operating. If you look at their system up here and how they do it all, they're pretty much operating at 66% capacity for FEMA. And one thing a lot of people don't understand about FEMA is not just the government. And this is one thing that annoys me. People say, well, FEMA is not doing anything. Well, FEMA is also comprised of teams. They may be specialty teams, like a task force, or they may be teams that are trained in common things like search and rescue. Like for this is actually a specialty thing. So they're having to call in states teams, which the state teams are made up by fire departments. Like the department I worked for in DeKalb County, Georgia, we had a strike team. Our specialty was building collapse. So if we were called out, they're taking resources from the fire department, getting them together, mobilizing us. And if it's outside the state of Georgia, they're physically transporting us and our equipment, which could be trucks too as well. So people say, well, they're not responding as quick. They're not doing it. Well, if you have a very large incident, you have to get the specialty teams together. You have to get them to a location, and then you have to get them moved to the other location. So that means you have to have things in place. And unfortunately, the incident in the Carolinas, they didn't have airports. They didn't have roads. So it was difficult to get them in. I do know people from task force, my old fire department in Virginia, Fairfax County Fire and Rescue, spent a lot of time in the Carolinas, and they basically packed in, and it took time, and it's going to take time to rebuild. And I do believe that everybody says, well, FEMA is not giving them homes. It's hard to get them there. I mean, unless you bring one by one in with helicopter in some areas, you just can't do it. So I know they're trying. I know there's also a lot of political controversy around FEMA at the moment. We're in the middle of an administration change, so hopefully it will improve, but I can't say. Current declaration requests. These are the ones that are open. New York, severe storms, tornadoes. Michigan for severe storms and tornadoes. Apparently they're repealing that one. California, Pennsylvania, Arkansas, or is that Alaska? Oklahoma, and of course the terrorist attack in Louisiana. So, well, I'm glad you came over here. we welcome you, Denise. So that's your daily FEMA update. Like I said, this is pretty similar to what the president gets. And I'm going to try and go over this one daily with you. And then I'm going to also, we're going to talk about I'm trying to manage two screens here. It's going to be really difficult when I have to go to mom's to do. uh, we're going to be talking about other incidents that go on, and I'm going to show you things that are going on currently. So this is basically volunteer dispatchers that have declared that there's some kind of incident they're listening to here in Georgia. This was obviously earlier today. It was a fire in a two-story house down in southern Georgia. Another fire, doesn't sound like it's bad, but 3 displaced. So yeah, it's not that great. And up here, the water rescue in New Hampshire. That's interesting. Apparently they had to get one person out of the water. And then they had a multiple injury accident in New Hampshire. A fire over in Massachusetts. Can I say that right? So see, they had to get 7 rescue teams requested, and it was a large animal one. That's another thing people don't consider. You have to bring in specialty teams for animals. So yeah, for something like that, whatever this technical rescue was, required 7 specific teams just for that alone. That's pretty significant. Let's see. I think that was it, wasn't it? We had that was the large animal rescue. What was this one down here? That's the same thing. So yeah, that's probably the teams from the different areas getting together, if I had to guess. But yeah, you have, once again, you have to assemble these teams. You have to get them together. It takes time, something you can't do. For that, the volunteer dispatchers of that group, that's all that they had reported. Now we'll see over here on another one that some other people are reporting different things. Actually, no, we're going to jump to something different first. So bear with me. This is my first show. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So Ross, if you're watching, I'm trying. This is the daily briefing from the National Weather Service. And this is pretty much what we talked about earlier. There's a low down here, and there's a tropical storm out here. I did not know that, named Irma. It's kind of weird this time of year. So they're worried about the snowfall up in the northeast and I guess kind of in the Montana Rockies area. So rain, snow. Doesn't look like there's any critical weather today. So that's a good news, right? That's something, right? Oh, all right, here. I'm switching between screens. Like I said, I'm trying, ladies and gentlemen, just bear with me. I'm going to bring this up because this is kind of neat. This shows county by county. Actually, it's got the radar imposed and shows county by county, different things going on. Of course, we talk about the fires out west. There's also things that go on like that people don't know about. Some little tiny thing called an earthquake. Yeah, and where was this one at? Let's see. This was a 2.3 earthquake, and that was in, where is that? That's in Kansas City, Missouri. Okay, all right, I'm losing it. So this is kind of neat. You can zoom in and see where all the recent earthquakes were, and that one occurred on the 10th. It was a 2.3. Wow, that's actually kind of significant. So places are rocking and rolling, and it looks like Texas down here had several of them in Culberson County. Good Lord. And that's another thing while they're dealing with all these forest fires down here in California, or over here in California, rather. Thank you, Denise. I appreciate that. Earthquakes. Now on top, let's talk about that for a second. They have firefighters in there fighting. Now, I want you also to think about this. Some nights they're fighting fire in winds up to 100 miles an hour and temperatures like you go into an oven. I'm talking 200 to 500 degrees. So these guys and gals are doing a great job. But if you add an earthquake on top of it, good Lord, that's another whole team you have to bring in. So let's pray that they don't have to do that. So down here on the coast, they've got some warnings for, I guess, the severe weather in Georgia. It looks, what is they got down there? Appling County. Freeze warning that far south. Wow, watch your iguanas. So, yeah, Wendell, I'm trying something a little bit different. So I'm trying to be serious for a change. Don't ask me why. It's probably not going to work too well. So, yeah, there's freeze warnings down there. Interesting. Interesting. What do we got down here? All the way down in the Gulf of Florida, Okaloosa County. What do they got? That's probably a surf war. Riptide. Okay, so you got a riptide in the Gulf. The Gulf of America, maybe. I heard that legislation has been introduced. So, yeah, so we got riptides down in the Gulf and freeze warnings in the Panhandle. Goodness gracious. So, and earthquakes, and you can see there in Tennessee and in South Carolina. Doesn't look like they were too big, though. This one, it looks like, was in McMinn County. How big was it? 2.2. Well, that's still enough to rock your world. Over in Carolina, in Fairfield County, what do they have over there? They had a 1.9. That's nothing to be taken too lightly. So I certainly wouldn't want to experience it. And I would think, yeah, these are a gale watch. Yeah, from, what did I say its name was? Irma. I didn't realize we had a tropical storm out on the coast. So, all right. All right, so we'll move on. We'll jump to the next screen. That's our current weather map. And I'll just show you so that there's, I don't know what the heck button I just hit. So that there's no confusion. This is the National Weather Service one, and it doesn't really vary much from what we saw. Gale warnings along the coast, riptide down in the Gulf, the fire hazards out on the west in the Santa Ana winds, not to mention all the air quality alerts. So one of the states we often forget about, way up here, Alaska. So they've also got some stuff going on. So have to keep an eye on that. Like I said, I'm trying, ladies and gentlemen. I'm trying. All right, something new I want to share with you here. This is another service that's provided. This is called, and thank you, Chris. Yes, it does take a special person to run into a burning building. Yeah, it's a crazy person, I think. So on this one here, we talk about potential snowfall, 62 million people under the threat of a major winter storm. So yeah, that's kind of a significant event. Over here, Kansas City, what do we have here? Drought. It's funny. One part of the country's in a drought. The other one's worried about heavy rain and snow. And then over in the West, they're worried about firestorms. It's crazy. Severe weather. School canceled classes because some of the southern U.S. states. I wasn't aware of that. Okay. Let's see. I don't know what's going on in Atlanta. Traffic at airport. Oh, yes. This is a couple days old. There was, we call it an alert 3. Oh, thank you, Wendell. We had what we call an alert 3 as responders to they're calling this a traffic incident. And actually, it's technically an alert 3. You have different levels of alerts for aircraft. You have alert 1, 2, and 3. Alert 1 is there's a potential problem. Alert 2 is, okay, it's time to pucker up. We got a problem. And alert 3 is the actual crash. This technically was considered an alert 3. A Delta airplane had to abort because of a flame out on one of its jets. Now, also something that a lot of people don't realize, most commercial aircraft can stay aloft with one engine. It's designed that way. There's a lot of redundancy in there. You don't want to stay aloft for long because you're going to burn more fuel. You're going to have to drop to lower altitude, a whole lot of things in play, but they could technically use one engine. Well, one flamed out, and they have what they call V1, V2, and V3, and that's the speed of the aircraft. Well, it had met terminal velocity, meant it was ready for us to change its angle of attack, and by the angle of attack, that you're changing the pitch of the wing to give the aircraft enough speed to carry the weight of the craft. Well, they had to abort, and due to the icy conditions, it slid off of the runway. There was a small fire in the engine only. It didn't extend to the passenger compartment, but they did have to declare an emergency. They popped the emergency doors. People were sliding out. The injuries, as I understand it, were from people sliding out and falling on the ice. So luckily, that was the only injuries from it. So, which is good. What do we have over here? Public safety, 3 police. I did not know this. 3 police officers shot. This was as of, well, it's fairly recently. It's today at about 3 o'clock. I'm sorry, about 2 o'clock, just before we came on. 3 police officers shot, suspect dead, northeast Atlanta. I'm sorry, Northeast Atlanta, Northeast DC. I hadn't heard that one. So that one's pretty interesting. What else do we got up here? Maryland, a drought. And in New York, New York's always got something going. A hazmat incident. 9 people were hospitalized after a carbon monoxide leak inside of a Queens home. That's interesting. Everybody does need to have a smoke detector, and a carbon dioxide detector is probably not a bad idea either. So yeah, or carbon monoxide. Dioxide is different. Sorry, forgot my hazmat. And what do we have up here? A fire, dozens of family homeless, 8 people are hurt in a Bronx apartment fire. Okay, that's pretty significant. 8 people hurt, but dozens homeless. It sounds like they got out, so that's a good thing. I mean, we don't want any injuries, but still a good thing that dozens of people got out with only a few injured. I think I got everything on here, didn't I? If I see something, I'm sure somebody will point it out. Fresno, what do we have over here? It's probably traffic, public accident, 4 dead following a suspected DUI crash in Fresno County. Okay, well, see, there's events that go on every day across the country people never hear about. 4 people were killed in a DUI crash in Fresno, California. That occurred last night at 6:39 a.m. local time, California. Wow. Chris, that's right. And this is a show Andy can contribute to if he's listening, because he is on top of all the dispatch stuff. So, wow. All right, so that's what's going on. Let's see, it didn't hit Miami. What's going on down here? A fire built in 2 little Havana businesses damaged after a dumpster fire spreads to an attic, causing a partial roof collapse. Interesting. So, all right. I think I got everything in the States on this one. Oh, you probably should consider Puerto Rico too. Critical infrastructure collapse. And they're extending their curfew. So if you're not familiar with what's going on, since before the beginning of the year, I think it was like New Year's Eve, Puerto Rico had a massive power failure. And their system down there is just not up to date, not up to code. And so they're still without power. And apparently, from what I understand from some people down there, that's a fairly normal occurrence. But people don't understand it. Their system is just not in effect. Wendell said, looking Birmingham. I think that's just a map, Wendell, showing of where Birmingham is. I don't think there's any actual events. I think the closest event was over in Atlanta. So, and then, well, I didn't see this down here in Tallahassee. What happened in Tallahassee? Extended rainfall. That's from the front down in the Gulf. So, all right. I'm not going to get into looking at all the Mexico stuff, or you can look at this map and see. You can go around the world and see hazards and things that don't get reported daily on the news. I mean, obviously, there's a war over here in Ukraine that gets a lot of attention. But there's other incidents that occur. A biological epidemic in England. Okay. A bird flu. That's going to be a thing. God, I hope they don't have a injection for that. And you can see down here, earthquakes, 2 events out in the middle of the Atlantic. So yeah, you can go over here and look and see. It's kind of interesting to see what goes on in the world that doesn't get reported. The actual mainstream media likes to, what's the correct word? They like to make sure that everything is a big deal so that they can tell you. So if it's something like a winter storm in Greenland, maybe our newest state coming soon, or Providence, I don't know what they call it. Yeah, they don't report these other things, but there are things going on around the actual world every day that nobody knows about. So, public safety incident in Portugal, a blast, and that was actually a terrorist attack. I did read about that one. So yeah, so you can check this site out. It's public domain, so anybody can get it. I'll send you the link if anybody wants it. But it's pretty cool to take a spin, and it's constantly updating. So that's kind of cool that it's in almost real time. All right. And then we're going to go to another one. This is called the World War Map. And I'll show you why it's called that, but we don't use it for that here in the United States per se. But once again, it is incidents. Like, for instance, up here in Cambridge, they extinguished a mattress fire on the fourth floor of a central apartment. It's updating as we speak. Let's see what's going on in Maine. Investigating the death of the 3-year-old boy who was found outside in the snow on Sunday morning. I doubt that would make any national news. Teen driver killed in New Hampshire. Let's see. This is probably a fire. Crews battling a second alarm fire in Petersboro. No injuries. So I don't want to hit every one of these, but I want to try and get the main ones. I don't know why this made police recovered an unoccupied stolen vehicle in Buffalo. I don't know why that really made a dot, but whatever. Let's see. There's a dot in Birmingham here. Wendell, what does Wendell say? What do we have going on here? Let me zoom in on it. A knife-wielding suspect was shot dead by St. Clair County store clerk. That was an hour ago? Yeah. Wow. Okay, there you go, Wendell. There's an incident. A knife-wielding robber was shot dead by St. Clair County store clerk. All right. Well, that's interesting. So there, Wendell, there was something. In Atlanta, I'm sure this is going to be 2 men sought after an argument led to gunfire Southwest Atlanta Food Mart. My old areas. Jacksonville, a shooting, Wilcox Street. One man in his 30s said he was standing near a burn barrel, heard several gunshots, and realized he was shot. That's interesting. So anybody in the chat, if there's one thing specific you want me to look at, let me know. Like I said, I don't want to look at all of them. Gun dot in Chicago. Yeah, yeah. There's several dots up here in Chicago, Chris. What do we got here? A man called Bellwood PD and stated that his mother, and he stated he killed his mother and wants to turn himself in. Okay. Yeah, Chicago. Something always going on up there. Bomb squad 2 hours ago were paged out for an explosive device in an HVAC system of building they were working on. Unknown chemicals inside. Believes the apartment and belongings. Okay, now this may make national news only because of what I'm about to say. Belongs to a male of Muslim or Middle Eastern descent. Now, that will turn into a major investigation. They'll go to ATF, they'll get the Secret Service. That will be a major deal. So you might hear about that one on the news. Interesting. I had not heard of that one yet. 2-alarm fire in Chicago commercial building. Chris, what else did we got on this one? Another person shot. He shot himself. I'm just no words. Yeah, 23-year-old male. Right flank, female 20 in the right flank, girl 4 in the right leg, in shooting, 20 shell casings and blood and bullet holes all in the house. Interesting. Yeah, Chris, there's another gun one. 79th and Halsted, a call come in of people fighting with shots fired. Wow. Another one there, 129. Engine 129 located a gunshot victim at 81st and Marshfield. So that's another thing people don't realize. We go out during the day when we're on the engines. We train. You have to train your drivers to drive. So if you're training a driver to drive, you do area familiarization. So you go out and you'll drive neighborhoods. There's also, you flush hydrants. There's some, or we could just go in to get some lunch. And we roll up on these things all the time. It's crazy. Chris Sherry knows how to represent. Atlanta's not too far detached. I'm surprised there's not more dots, to be honest with you, in Atlanta. And in my old home up in Washington, D.C., well, it's a mess up there. So what do we have? This would be in Andy's neighborhood. A structure fire, Barnaby Elementary School. Firefighters located and extinguished a fire in a classroom. No injuries, and fire investigators are en route. So these are pretty much real time. This one was from a day ago. That's why I like this map, because it gives you, I guess, different news and different reporting. But once again, stories that won't make the news. What was this one? Cincinnati. Man accidentally set fire to his home while using a propane torch to clear out ice from his outdoor steps. Do I have a comment for that? Propane torch, melting ice, probably alcohol involved, I'm going to guess. Bad combination. It's just my opinion. I don't think it's a good idea to use a propane torch to clear ice. But I have seen it. I have seen it, ladies and gentlemen. We'll zoom in here a little bit on the west. I'm hoping to get a larger audience out west. And domestic dispute turned deadly when police officers fatally shot a man during a physical altercation. It looks like that's in Olympia 8 hours ago. What do we have here? 2 men were arrested in, I'm going to make a mess of this one. Scapos, following an attempted arson shooting at the Green Meadows mobile home park. I'll leave it at that. So yeah, that's a bad idea. Do not use a blowtorch on wood. That's a bad idea. Very bad idea. Unless there's something else, we'll skip to the next map. But as you can see, and we'll go over this, I'm going to try and do this daily, and I'm going to try and keep it to an hour. Obviously, I'm not going to make it today, being my first show. But if you do have a specific area you want me to zoom in, or if you're listening to this later, you can come over and find the show under the Paranormal Guys, the Sportcat show. It's going to be my Gazette of news every day. I don't know. I come up with a silly name for it. And join the chat, and we'll see what's going on in your neighborhood. So, and please hit the thumbs up. And Chris will have to remind me to like, share, and subscribe, obviously. Hit that notification bell so you'll know at 1400, 2 o'clock Eastern when I'm going live. So, all right, we'll jump off that map and see what we got on the next map, because it appears there's always something. All right, this one is called Disaster Alerts, and we've pretty much covered it, but we'll show it again. Disaster alerts, the potential for major snow in the Northeast corridor and up in the Rockies. We know about the California area. What's going on here? Still snow in, where's that? Arkansas. Arkansas still got snow? Wow, I didn't know that. And then they're worried about flooding down in the Texas region. And what's up here? A drought in the eastern United States. So, yeah. It's this one's called a disaster alert map, and it's actually updated fairly commonly. What's that here? A tsunami 7 hours ago. I guess it was a tsunami alert. All right. Did not know about that. What do we got down here? Floods in Haiti. And of course, we reported earlier about Puerto Rico has got all things going on. What is this one? In Haiti 2 hours ago, some kind of biological. Okay. But you can go to this site and you can zoom in, or you can zoom out to the world and see what's going on. Of course, we see the mess up in the war zones up here. So, but yeah. And once we become international with this show, which I anticipate, I will talk about other places, and you will have to educate me on some of the places because, well, my geography may be off. One of my friends lives in Italy, storms. So apparently there's going to be heavy storms there. So I hope that I can see her face, but I can't think of her name. I hope she's safe. So I went to elementary school with her. We're still friends. This one was just pretty simple of emergency alerting. Recall items. I saw earlier they recalled some taquitos from Aldi. There's cheese that's been recalled. Ice cream that's been recalled. Chicken has been recalled. This one was good. Amazon, they had helmets recalled because, well, they don't do what they're supposed to do. Protect your noggin. So, yeah, shocker. Lawnmowers recalled. Oils recalled due to a risk of poisoning. I hadn't heard of that one. Let's click on that one. Wintergreen essential oil. Okay. I guess that I don't know what you'd use a wintergreen essential oil on, but it's been recalled. Don't use it. So I'm sorry. Eye drops recalled due to fungal contamination. Wendell says he just got a notification. Hamilton police are searching for a missing woman. Okay. Well, see, there you go. Wendell, you can help me update things in real time. Mashed potatoes have been recalled. Well, apparently, I don't know how to pronounce that market, have recalled because of wheat in the product. I guess that's going to be an allergen effect. 16-ounce premium homestyle mashed taters were recalled. So check your mashed taters. They were sold, I guess these are the different stores they were sold in. Premium homestyle taters. So from the, I'm going to try Dyersburg Markets. I don't know where that's located, but if you got mashed potatoes from the Dyersburg Market, you might want to check it. Let's see. Pork and beef recalled due to misbranding and undeclared allergen. And Ralph's Packing Company out of Oklahoma is recalling 3,132 pounds of ready-to-eat pork and beef bologna due to misbranding and undeclared allergens. USDA's U.S. Department of Agriculture, Food and Safety and Inspection announced today that it may contain milk which is not declared on the product label. The ready-to-eat pork, beef, and garlic lasagna have been made since September 22nd, maybe frozen, and that's going to be a problem with, why is there milk in, can somebody tell me why there's milk in bologna? I don't know. I got nothing, but check your check your packaged meat. If this was my Saturday night crew, you'd be having a blast with this. Dressers recalled due to tip over and entrapment hazards. You know, it's one thing. I didn't actually run the call. I was back up on the call, but a cabinet had fallen on a child, a 3-year-old. And initially the child was fine. And I wasn't the medic. They assessed the child, checked him out. And they advised him they should go to the hospital. Family was like, no, just keep an eye on it. Came back in later as a respiratory arrest because the child had a collapsed lung from a pinhole dot that was located from something that fell from the dresser. So if you got little ones that are going to climb and if things are a tip hazard, keep an eye on that. That's an injury a lot of people don't think about. So broccoli recalled. Let's see. I think I covered all this. Sausage recalled. Anything specific anybody wants me to click on, we can. I don't want to go over a specific one, but these are the latest recalls and health alerts. All right. So let's see what else I got going on over here. Okay, we're going to get into a little bit more of the fire stuff since it seems to be making the news. The incident management situation, they always prepare a report. So they said that in the past 24 hours, there's 28 fires. And this is actually incident command for the whole country. So it's not just California. They have 8 air tankers and support people in California to support wildland operations. The National Guard, the 153rd Airlift Wing, Wyoming's Air National Guard, 302nd Air Wing, Colorado, 146th California Air National Guard, and the Nevada National Guard are all out there deployed helping. So they have 946 engines working with 8,802 people. So Chris says I would have definitely had a packaged meat line for antlers if this was Saturday show, but he's on the job, so he has to control himself. Yeah, well, it's a new crowd here. So think about that. They have 8,802 people, and which is an increase from 540. And I think those came from Oregon. I'm not sure. Think of that number divided in half because they're working 24 hours on, 24 hours off. These engines are going full time. That's a lot. So total cumulative acres burning 48,027. And a total of personnel, and this is including probably the pilots, 9,039, which is an increase of 500. 15 new fires that Uncontained large fires, we still have the 3. So 15 new fires. I did hear that one of the fires was a small one that people caught. They caught them setting. Oh, a fire NATO. We'll discuss that here in a little bit. Briefly describing a fire NATO, as Denise is pointing out, picture a tornado of fire and embers. So, Carl's Frosted Tips says, good job, Gavin Newsom. Well, I think I heard today there's some recall for him, the mayor, and some other people. But, once again, there are boots on the ground, people working, and unfortunately, Chris says, like and subscribe, everybody. Let's get this thing going. Yes, please. And hit the thumbs up button. It helps spread it out over YouTube. A lot of people will pick on the management or the politicians or whatever. There's still people. There's still 9,000 people out there working. Split that in half, 24-hour shifts working. They don't, when I was in the field working, I don't give a rat's ass who is in charge of the department, who the mayor is. I have a job to do. I don't give a rat's ass who you're sleeping with, what your orientation is. I don't care. You're my brother, you're my sister, whatever. We're going to go do the job. Well, there is some of that, Carl. He's talking about the DEI. But when we're out in the field, we don't look at it that way. I will tell you from the inside perspective of being in a fire station every third day for most of my life, there is no topic off duty, off limits. Sometimes arguments can get heated. We can debate politics, religion, race, sexuality, whatever. That bell goes off and we got a call. You're my brother, you're my sister. I don't care a rat's ass about any of that other stuff. And unfortunately, that gets tied up in the politicals as you go up the food chain in any large service. I'm sure I've never been in the military, but I would say that it's probably the same way. Yes, bad chiefs do equal bad policy put in place, but in the field, Carl, you have to work with what you have. Yeah, so Carl says he's worked fire for 25 years. Thank you, Carl. I appreciate your service. Me too. I don't know where you work, but I've been mostly in the South. We're still discussing the California fires. The one in, oh gosh, I'm probably going to say it wrong. Palisades, is that right? Is changed 59 acres, but that's the one they said they had 13% containment of. 27% containment in Eaton, 89% in Hearst, and 100%, I guess that's the one we haven't heard about, in Kenneth. So, and this is just going over, covering pretty much the whole area. This is in Arizona. They have a fire that's 80% contained. This is total nationwide. We'll get down here to the bottom. Total acres, 20 total fires, 58 acres, 339 total acres. Good Lord. Make sure it's right. Yeah. That's nationwide. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good. And then we get to including, well, no, I'm sorry. That was the Northeast. Let me go back and correct myself. That was the Northeast, Northwest. That includes California, but then they drop down here and they have the separate ones in a larger one listed out, with 31,600 acres burning at this time. So as of today in the United States, there's been 378 fires. And I'm assuming that's talking about wildfires, and that's a pretty dang big thing. So the Santa Ana winds are going to continue today across Southern California. Peak gust to 55, relative humidity near 10%. Poor overnight recovery. Another thing people don't realize, you can't fly those planes at night to do drops. I think you can do helicopters, but only in a limited area. They talk about 6 minutes to safety. That's a thing about the brush fires, how quickly they spread. I have only personally fought 2 large brush fires. They were both in Tennessee. It is not something I would ever want to do again. That is probably some of the hardest, dirtiest, nastiest work that you will do. And it is so unpredictable, and which we're going to get into here in a few minutes. So that's, oh goodness. that's that one. That's the National Incident Management sit rep for fires. All right, so let's go over here. This app, I understand from people that are in the know, is called Watch Duty. And if you're out in the Midwest, pretty much anywhere west of the Mississippi, they talk about that 6 minutes to go because of the spread. This app tells you where the fires are up to the minute. So that's pretty good. So keep that app in mind. Obviously, this whole area down there is horrible in California, in Southern California. But other states are having fires as well. As you zoom out, you see here. But those are the major ones. It looks like this was a small one in, I'm not even going to try and pronounce the county, that they contained a vegetation fire. But yeah, this app just tells us in the Midwest what's burning, how big it's gotten, obviously by the size of the flames. So this is a good app if you live out on the west side of the Mississippi River to have. Watch Duty. It will notify you what's going on, and it's pretty accurate and up to date. So it's got volunteer reporters as well as paid reporters that are like public information officers from fire departments and stuff. I understand that this is eventually going to spread to the entire country, but the problem right now they're having is so many people and resources are being dedicated to the West, which doesn't surprise me, and we need it. So, but eventually this app will grow and pretty much be nationwide. So if you're out west of the Mississippi, I highly recommend it, especially during the burn season, which we are in with the fires. So, all right, let's see what else we're going to get into here. This is just another one talking about the fires. I use different sources in different places. This one is more from the government, and you can see it's pretty much the same. It just tells you about different fires that are going. And as we know right now, they're mainly all located out west because of the Santa Ana winds. So, and I can go into that more specific if anybody wants me to, but we were going to talk about, well, I guess we could talk about it during this one because no, that's not what it is, Wendell. We can use this one to discuss the changes in the weather. I guess I should have had the weather map up, but when you get a certain size in the fire creates its own air, its own draft, its own lift. The heat as it rises can meet cold and cause a tornado. It can cause an actual storm, and it's called a firenado. And that is basically a concentrated area of fire and wind that are free burning, moving on their own, just like a tornado. And if you picture a Sharknado or one of those, picture a firenado. Basically, it is a tornado that's been created by the lift and the uplift of the different temperatures. And when it hits the cold air, it can create a firenado. That can come up on you within moments. So that was one of the reasons I was not a fan. The one large forest fire that I fought, we were protecting structures, and it was coming down the mountain at us. And when I say it was coming down the mountain at us, it sounded like a train coming. And basically all we could do was just open the hose nozzle and kind of protect ourselves. We were at the bottom of the mountain. It jumped the mountain we were on and went to the mountain, or I guess it would have been like the ridge behind us. It literally jumped over us. And it was the strangest and craziest thing I ever experienced in my life. Never want to experience it again. I'm not a fan of brush or forest fires. It takes a special person to do that, and it's not me. A funny story about that is the very first one that I fought was a smaller one. We're going up the side of the ridge, and we're digging lines to try and keep the fire back. I did not know that fire can not only travel through the air vertically, it can travel below us as well through the root system. So we would have to dig down so far deep to make sure that there was I don't remember exactly what it was in Tennessee. Each state's a little bit different, a different width and depth, because the roots can actually be burning and burn under you and catch a tree on fire way back over yonder. There's a difference in yonder and yonder. Anyhow, I can tell you that story if you want to. I was with the volunteer fire department. I'm going up first, the very first one. I'd had brush firefighter training. I was a brush firefighter certified, blah, blah, blah. We're going up the mountain or the ridge. There's a difference in a ridge and a mountain, I learned. And one of the guys looks over at me. He goes, "Hey, I'm glad to see the city boy isn't scared of them pets." Pets? And later I was told it was the timber rattlers coming down off the mountains, and that we walked through a nest of them, and I never saw them. Because if I had, I would have been scared. I would have ran like hell. A funny news story I got, it was breaking news earlier before I came on. For any of my police officer friends listening, there is a donut shortage. So Dunkin' Donuts may not have your donuts because of some processing error. Don't blame me. You're going to have to get your donuts somewhere else. They hope to have it resolved soon. Yay. Carl and Chris, this will probably be the part of the show you like the most. This is Sports Scores for those of us that are sports fans. And over the weekend, there were several games that were kind of cool, actually. The Houston Texans advanced, beating the Chargers. The Baltimore Ravens advanced, beating when I say advanced, through the playoffs, advanced to the next round of the playoffs. And Buffalo Bills and the Philadelphia Eagles also. My team, the Cardiac Commanders, in the very last second, won on a field goal on a dunk or a boink. It hit the field goal. It hit the pole and went inside the pole, scaring me to death. And then tonight we have the final game between the Minnesota Vikings and the Los Angeles Rams. This is complimentary of Fox Sports, obviously. I want to make sure to mention those. Wendell says, "Well, damn, what is this world coming to?" Wendell, that's what I said. A lot of people don't realize once you get outside and look at things that aren't reported, what's going on. I mean, a lot of people just don't realize there's things going on in neighborhoods and stuff that people don't even know about. Those are the type of things I want to really identify, because we know about we get the CNN, the Fox, the MSNBC, whatever your viewing pleasure is. You get all of the big stuff and the stuff that they're fed and told to do, but you don't, like we pointed out with Chris up there in Chicago. He probably hadn't heard about some of those incidents. I hadn't heard about the one in Atlanta. So, yeah. College basketball over the weekend. Really, apparently, wasn't a whole lot going on. Oregon won over Penn State. West Virginia beat Colorado. Michigan beat Washington. Purdue, the Boilermakers, beat Nebraska. Michigan State beat Northwestern. What does Chris say down here? The Rams are getting screwed by the Fires, causing their home game tonight to be played in Arizona. Yes, thank you, Chris, for reminding me of that. The Arizona Cardinals are graciously hosting tonight's game. So technically their home field advantage was LA, but they can't play there. So they moved it to Arizona. So both teams are technically on neutral ground. Isn't that weird? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. So let's see. We can cover the NBA a little bit. Scores yesterday. The Knicks won, the Nuggets, the Thunder, the Kings, the Pacers, the Magic. I don't follow a lot of basketball. The Celtics, the Jazz, and the Suns won. I don't follow it because the Atlanta team kind of sucks. But don't tell anybody I said that. Women's college basketball yesterday. I know Tennessee lost. South Carolina beat Texas. Notre Dame over Clemson. USC over Penn State. Ohio State, we're talking basketball, ladies basketball, beat Oregon. Ohio State beat Oregon, which football they did too. Oklahoma beat Texas A&M. Louisville beat Georgia Tech. I saw the score on that one, and Georgia Tech was winning. I was like, how's Georgia Tech winning? Duke over the Cavaliers, Virginia Cavalier. Kentucky, the Wildcats over Auburn. Tennessee pulled out another one over Arkansas. They are 14-2. Tennessee is, I don't know if their ranking is number 1 or 2. Oh, no, it tells you they're 16. They dropped. That's right. 14-2. Of course, Alabama, they beat Ole Miss. They're 16-2. We're always going to hate Alabama. Bobby, if you're watching, I hate Alabama in all sports. North Carolina, the Tar Heels over Boston College. NC State over Stanford. Indiana beat Iowa. And Cal beat Florida State. So I'm going to highlight these things real quickly because I don't know what my fans are interested in. NHL, I want to get into this so much more, but we don't have a team here. So I don't know. The Red Wings beat the Krakens, and the Lightnings beat the Penguins. The Senators, I'm not even sure where the Senators are, beat the Stars. The Ducks beat the Hurricanes, and the Las Vegas Golden Knights beat the Wild. I'm assuming it's Cats. And I did see that Washington's 20-year veteran scored the most goals in playoff history. Playoff history, NHL history. So I did see that headline. And then I think we're pretty much at an end for today. That'll keep me within an hour. I did have some other things lined up. Had the story about Trump and his Ottawa Senators. Thank you, Chris. Chris, you may have to educate me on NHL. I was going to go over Trump's cabinet picks. And obviously they're going to be in the news because tomorrow I think they begin the Senate hearings. I was not aware of all the things the president has to pick people to do. Some obviously have to be approved by Congress and Senate. Others do not. I mean, he's got to make everything pretty much down to a nationwide librarian. That's a lot of people to pick. I don't even know if I know that many people. So I was going to go over that a little bit, but it's going to be probably scrutinized pretty heavily tomorrow. But yeah, there are things that I hadn't even heard of. I was like, what is there a guy for this for? I mean, I understand, like the CDC, the CIA, and all the FBI, Homeland, Transportation, Education, Labor. I get all those things, but there were some that it just blew my mind. I was also going to talk about the USDA put out a report as of the 10th of basically the World Agricultural Outlook. And I found it pretty interesting, the things that we export to other countries. So I might get into that if we run out of time on some things. And then I was also going to try and jump over to the air and space news. They're basically trying to accelerate the production of some aircraft for the Air Force and Space Force. I'm not sure what Space Force aircraft is being accelerated, but okay. And I did discover that in Greenland, the country that we're supposedly going to merge, become really good friends with or whatever, has a Space Force base on it. Did not know that either. So we're going to talk about that. But like I said, I'm running out of time here. I don't want to keep this any longer than an hour because, well, people lose patience and they get bored with you and they go away. And I don't want you to go away. I want you to stay. So, and here is my last thing for the day on the NFL, the playoff bracket. Tonight's game will decide who plays the Eagles. And then next weekend, the Commanders play the Lions. I'm not looking forward to that game, Chris. Not looking forward to it. The Lions are tough. The Super Bowl I'd like to see, I said at the beginning of the season, would have been the Lions and the Bills. Now I'd kind of like to see the Commanders, but we'll see. So I don't want to see the Eagles. I don't want to see the Ravens. Don't want to see the Texans. Chiefs, come on, guys. You've been there enough. Don't want to see that one either. So, but we still got a game to decide, and then next week we go forward from there. So, all right. Well, unless I have any more questions from the chat, I'm going to get out of here for today. I think we've basically stuck to an hour, and which is what I wanted to do. And I want to thank Ross over at Yerg's Radio. You can go over there and listen to us. I don't know if he's going to be recording these, playing these back. They will be uploaded soon to Spotify, but it's going to be basically 24 hours old by the time you listen to it. But you'll get to know me and learn what we do. to come over and to subscribe to the Paranormal Guys with a Z on YouTube, the Sportcat shows. Please thumbs up. Please share this and tell everybody. We're going to try and stick to 1400 every day, Monday through Friday. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I will be spinning rock on the Thin Line Rock Station from noon till 2. So check me out over there, www.thethinlinerockstation.com, if you want to hear me playing some records. If you want to get in touch with me, the email address is in the show notes. And you can leave me a voice message, or you can shoot me an email. And if you want to hear a record played, even just whatever, not a record, but a song played. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I want to thank Ross at Yerg's Radio for allowing me to broadcast on his channel, and I want to thank him for allowing us on Rainbow Radio as well. And of course, we're on YouTube. So everybody, please like, share, and subscribe. I'm going to check messages real quick here, make sure I didn't miss anything. It doesn't appear I did. Okay. Everybody have a great day. For those of you that follow the show regularly, Wednesday night, thank you, Chris. Wednesday night, we have the Paranormal Guys. It's going to be me and Amanda. I'm not sure if Cheyenne is going to be out of the bunker yet. She got snowed in at work, and she's been there for several days. That's one of the disadvantages of public safety. So I'm not sure if she's going to be there or not. I'm hoping, Chris. I'm really hoping, but God, they're a tough team. But if we win, it'll be on a doink at the last minute, and I'll be having chest pain. So talking about the Washington Commanders. Wednesday night, the Paranormal Guys, we have two great guests lined up. The first guest, you all will know him, returning guest. He's the producer and director at Relic Films, Greg Ogles. He just put out a great film that we went over and saw the premiere of The Land Between the Lakes, which is an area known between Tennessee and Kentucky, where there's lots of Bigfoot and paranormal cryptid type area things in the area. So we'll have him on for the first hour. For the second hour, we're going to have a female author that's done some research too. And so it's going to be a great show. So come check us out Wednesday night at 9 p.m. We will also be on Yerg's Radio at 9 p.m. Wednesday, broadcasting live. And of course, it will be up on YouTube to see. And well, you can follow it on Spotify and all your Apple and all those places everywhere else. So come check us out. We do have a Saturday show. Chris, there's being some changes made to it. So there's going to be some delays, but we're going to get back on track, called The Misfits. So yes, Greg is a great guest. If you get a chance, come check it out. At least the first hour for Greg. I want you to stay for both, but Greg's a great guest. I love having him on the show. He brings a lot to the table, and he spent a lot of money going out and playing in the woods looking for things. Everybody have a great day. I will see you tomorrow at 1400. Until then, Sportcat is out. I will see you all soon. Thanks for coming over. Remember, hit thumbs up, the notification bell, and like, follow, share, and subscribe.